Here's my formal welcoming you into Spattered. This is your first episode.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. This is my daddy-o who doesn't have his camera on because he doesn't want me to see his shocked facial expressions.
Oh, I didn't even think about turning on the camera. But, I'm on your mother's laptop and she basically has it blotted out. So
Oh, fair
I
enough,
could
fair
flip it
enough.
open.
So, originally, what was going to happen with this week's episode was that June, James, and I recorded, but the problem is that only one side of the conversation recorded, and it was mine. So I could have released it as a solo, or I could wait until Thursday when an episode drops to re record with James and June. So we're going to do that. But today we are going to, unfortunately, probably mentally scar my father a little bit.
I'm pretty strong.
You're pretty
It
strong.
might be a gross one, but we'll find out what happens, right?
Okay. Well, anyways, before we get started, while we understand that some individuals listen for the entertainment aspect of true crime, it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who may still be suffering from their loss. These stories are not meant to cause further emotional damage to those involved. We remind you to please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The case discussed in this podcast today may be disturbing to some individuals, and listener discretion is advised. Now, as far as trigger warnings go today, this is a Christmas tree fiasco of trigger warnings. So there is minors involved in this case. There is sexual assault. There's domestic violence. There is animal abuse. So please, I advise extreme caution when coming into this case today because it is absolutely gruesome.
Oh my gosh. So you're gonna mess with my head.
A little bit.
I hope it's not too bad.
So, Katherine Mary Knight was born on October 24th of 1955 in Tenterfield, Australia. She was one of two twin girls born to her parents, and she was the product of a scandalous affair between her mother, Barbara Rowan, and her father, Ken Knight. Rowan was already the mother of four boys with another man and had met Mr. Knight through her husband. When the affair came to light, it rocked their small conservative town. Unfortunately, this rough and chaotic start didn't get much better from here. Catherine's father, who was a violent alcoholic who raped her mother multiple times a day, and according to testimony from Catherine herself, claims that she was sexually assaulted by several family members until the age of roughly 11 years old. Now, there have been minor doubts regarding this detail, but psychiatrists do accept her claims as all family members did confirm that abuse did happen within the household. Catherine's mother often told her daughters intimate details about her sex life and how she hated sex and men. However, when Catherine later complained about a situation where her partner wanted to take her to do sexual acts, but she didn't want to, Barbara stated, "Put up with it and stop complaining." Catherine, by all accounts, was a pleasant young girl who experienced some uncontrollable tantrums in response to minor upsets. When she attended Musselbrook High School, she became a loner and was more known as a bully as time went on. Catherine assaulted at least one boy with a weapon and was injured by one teacher who acted in self defense. But in contrast, when Catherine was not in a fit of rage, she was a model student and often was rewarded for good behavior. Catherine left school at the age of 15 without learning how to read or write, and she gained employment as a cutter in a clothing factory. However, roughly a year later, she found what she referred to as her dream job, working in a slaughterhouse.
Okay. That's her dream job.
Yep, that's her dream job.
For a female, that doesn't sound like a typical avenue of career, but okay.
Nope, that didn't sound like a typical avenue of career for me either. I was like, okay. While working at this local slaughterhouse, Catherine took great interest with her job and would often wander away from the production line to watch the incoming pigs have their throats cut. While most employees found this strange, they brushed it off as she was just looking into other areas of the job.
Just showing interest to what she does and what goes on in the factory, right?
I guess so, but it's a little strange,
Yeah, a little bit.
a little weird. In this field, she quickly found herself promoted to boning and was given a set of butcher knives as a gift from the company. According to journalist Peter Lalor, in his true crime book that covered Katherine Knight called Bloodstain Catherine, she loved her job so much that she hung this first set of butcher knives over her bed in case she ever wanted to use them. To which I'm like, what are you fucking using them for that you need them in the
Just in case I want to
bedroom?
use them while I'm in bed. Yeah, while I'm in bed, right?
I'm like, who the fuck is this kinky shit? No.
No, that's kind of weird. Okay.
So I wanted to note here that she was also moving up the ranks according to Morbid. She took part in slaughtering incoming animals, and rather than quickly and humanely killing them, she would nick an artery and watch them slowly bleed out. So while working at this butcher shop, Catherine met David Kellett, a 22-year-old truck driver who, by all accounts, was a raging alcoholic and prone to fist fights.
Interesting.
Used to this kind of violence, Catherine surprised her new boyfriend when she joined in on drunken fistfights. I mean, I guess you gotta have your man's back, but.
And she seems like quite the aggressor.
Mm
I knew somebody in school like that, but she turned out to be a little bit more normal as she grew up.
hmm. Yeah.
Like you think about Peppermint Patty and like Snoopy and all that.
Oh, yeah, there's
It's
definitely
like
girls out there that are like,
tomboy type of girls that
yeah.
don't go down that road. But yeah, it's like after this one grew up, she was a very nice lady. So,
It's maturing and it's understanding that fighting people regularly isn't really a socially acceptable thing.
right?
Kellett soon realized that Catherine was capable of doing much more than a little damage with her fists, and before long, he found himself being dominated by her. In 1974, Kellett married Knight after she requested, and the reception the couple had, they arrived to the service on her motorcycle, and Kellett was very intoxicated on the pylon, I want to say, which is like the back seat, the secondary seat behind the main seat or the saddle.
Yeah, the pylon, I think you're right.
Yeah. So, as soon as they arrived, Barbara, Catherine's mother, offered Kellett some advice. The old girl said to me, "Watch out. You better watch this one, or she'll fucking kill you. Stir her up the wrong way, or do the wrong thing, and you're fucked. Don't ever think of playing up on her. She'll fucking kill you. She's got something loose. She's got a screw loose somewhere." And that's from her mom. I'm like, oh God.
What year is this that she got married? Is this in the 70s or?
This is in the 70s, 74.
Okay.
So, on their wedding night, the marriage was consummated 3 times, and David eventually got tired and fell asleep. However, Knight wanted to go forth with a fourth round and took issue with her husband's exhaustion, so she decided to start strangling him. Luckily enough, Kellett woke up and managed to fight Knight off of him. And even though she attempted to kill him only 1 day into their marriage, this union lasted another 10 years. The marriage was particularly violent, and on one occasion of a heavily pregnant night, she burned all of Kellett's clothing and shoes before hitting him across the head with a frying pan. All because he arrived home late after a darts competition because he made it into the finals. Fearing for his life, obviously, Kellett ran to the neighbor's house and collapsed. He was later treated for a badly fractured skull, and police wanted to charge Knight with the attack. However, she was now on her best behavior and convinced Kellett to drop the charges.
Basically, it's like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again.
Yeah, basically. Cycle of violence shit. The fucking
Yeah,
it boils
your
over and then it
typical
turns into I'm so
cycle.
sorry. I love you. I will never do that again.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We look at the roses and we ignore the thorns, and it starts all
Yeah.
over again.
Wow.
So, shortly after the birth of their first child, Kellett left Knight for another woman and moved to Queensland. Being unable to cope with this, Knight's possessive and violent behavior, the next day, Knight was seen pushing her newborn baby down the main street and aggressively swinging the stroller from side to side. Knight was admitted to St. Elmo's Hospital in Tamworth, where she was diagnosed with postnatal depression or postpartum and spent several weeks recovering.
That stuff's real, that's for sure.
Hmm.
But I think she has that already screw loosed.
Yeah, she's got a screw loose somewhere.
Yeah.
So, upon being released, Catherine placed her now 2-month old on a railway line shortly before a train was due to arrive, then proceeded to steal an axe and went around town threatening to kill several people with it. Now, there are two different reports as to what happened with the infant. Some say that the train never showed up and the baby was saved, and other reports state that a man known as Old Ted was foraging near the rail line when he found and rescued the baby. Regardless, though, the baby was fine.
Okay.
Catherine was again arrested and taken back to St. Elmo's Hospital, but apparently recovered and signed herself out the following day. A few days later, though, she slashed a woman across the face with one of her knives and demanded to be driven to Queensland to find Kellett. Luckily, this woman was able to escape from Catherine after the two stopped at a service station. But by the time that police arrived, Knight had taken a little boy hostage and was threatening to kill him with the knife. Knight fortunately was disarmed when police attacked her with brooms, and she was admitted to the Morsiet Psychiatric Hospital.
Definitely needs some help.
So, while at the hospital, she told nurses that she intended to kill a mechanic who had fixed David's vehicle because it made it possible for him to leave her.
Okay.
Knight was released from this hospital on August 9th of 1976 into the care of her mother-in-law, and Kellett moved back to Aberdeen to support her. They moved to Woodridge, a suburb in Brisbane, and she obtained a job in Dinmore Meatworks in the nearby Ipswich town. On March 6th of 1980, they welcomed their second daughter to their reunited family. However, this reunion didn't last long, and eventually Kellett left Knight in 1984. In 1986, after the breakup with Kellett, Knight jumped right into another whirlwind romance with David Saunders, a local miner. Within a few months, Saunders had moved in with Knight and her two daughters. However, he kept his apartment as well. This made Knight extremely jealous and suspicious about activities Saunders was doing when Catherine wasn't around. And like her previous relationship, this one started out kind of nice, but then it started to fester with toxicity and violence. I'm going to give a quick trigger warning for animal abuse. If you're listening and you want to skip ahead a couple seconds, this is where we're going to talk about it. But at one point in Catherine's fit of jealousy, she slit the throat of Saunders' 2-month-old dingo puppy right in front of him to show him what she was capable of.
I would think he already knows that.
Oh, yeah.
But
But I'm like,
okay.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. Some people.
The two remained together after this and even had a daughter together, which prompted Saunders to put a deposit down on a house. Knight decorated the house throughout with animal bones, skins, skulls, horns, as well as rusty animal traps, leather jackets, old boots, machetes, rakes, and pitchforks. No space, including the ceiling, was left uncovered. To which I'm all for having like the goblin aesthetic house where you have bones hanging up and stuff. But I'm like, this is going a little bit far. This sounds more like a hunting cabin, a very demented, like Bubba Gump fucking hunting cabin.
This is Jason's home.
This is Jason's home. Jason Voorhees' home.
Or like the Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
Massacre type
Bubba.
stuff. Leatherface.
Leatherface Bubba. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is
Oh my
not
gosh.
okay.
Right.
And she has children too that are running around. I'm like, oh my God.
This is normal. No, no, it's not.
No, it's not. So Saunders left Catherine shortly after the birth of their daughter, after the two had gotten into an argument that saw Saunders being hit in the face with an iron before being stabbed in the stomach with a pair of scissors.
Oh man.
So Saunders attempted to return several months later, but found out that Knight had gone to the police and told them that she was afraid of him, and they issued her an apprehended violence order against him. So basically, a restraining order or a people's
Typical.
protection order here in the United States.
Who gets there first gets the heavier weight. Yeah.
Yeah. So Catherine went on to meet a man named John Chillingworth, and they stayed together for 3 years and also had a child. And this was Catherine's first son. In this relationship, there were no reports of violent incidences. However, it ended upon Chillingworth becoming aware of an affair Catherine was having with a man named John Charles Thomas Price, also known as Pricey. So, Pricey was the father of 3 children when Knight had had an affair with him. According to many friends, he was a terrific bloke who was liked by everyone he knew, and his own marriage had ended in 1988. So the beginning of this relationship with Pricey and Knight was without complications. He had 2 older children who lived with him and actually seemed to really like Knight. Additionally, Pricey made enough money as a minor to keep Knight comfortable. In 1995, they actually moved in together, and things seemed to be going very smoothly. However, when she suggests that the two of them should get married, he declined, and she began to turn violent again. In retaliation to the declaration of marriage, Knight videotaped items that Pricey had, quote, stolen from work and sent the tape to his boss. Now, these items that were stolen were simply outdated medkits that Pricey had scavenged from the company's trash. As a result, he was fired from the job and he lost basically everything that he had held for 17 long years.
Right, the vindictive.
Vindictive and petty. Like, that's such a
Yeah.
low blow.
It's like you don't do what I say and I'll ruin your life, basically.
Oh, yeah, basically.
And I might ruin your life anyway, even if you do what I say.
Yeah.
Crazy lady. That's a special kind of crazy.
So that same day, Pricey kicked her out of the house and she returned to her own home while news of what she'd done spread across town like wildfire. A few months later, they started seeking each other out again. So now we're starting to see that cycle of violence is picking back up again of I'm
Sure.
sorry, I won't do that again.
Right.
However, Pricey refused to let her move back in.
Good for him.
And according to friends and neighbors, Catherine's violence began to escalate with this.
Yeah. That's typically what happens. Didn't get her way. Now here we go again.
Yep. The fighting became so bad and frequent that most of Pricey's friends no longer had anything to do with him while the two remained together, which I can understand if you're scared of the woman that your friend's dating and you're afraid that she might fly off the handle and possibly hurt you. That's self-preservation. You back yourself away.
You also don't want to be around that stuff and witness something you really just don't want to be involved with.
Oh, absolutely. So, additionally, at this time, Kellett, Knight's previous husband, had met up with Pricey, who said he wanted out, but he was afraid to leave this relationship. In February of 2000, the two had an argument, and it culminated with her stabbing Pricey in the chest. Finally fed up, he kicked her out of his house entirely. Following this, John, or Pricey, took out a restraining order against Knight in an attempt to keep his own children safe.
Sure.
Towards the end of the month, John gave way to a concern for his safety and told his coworkers that if he ever went missing or didn't show up for work, that Knight had successfully killed him. On February 29th of 2000, Pricey came home from work and followed his usual evening routine of checking in with the neighbors before going up to bed at 11 p.m. Earlier in the day, Knight had bought some black lingerie and had made videotapes to all of her children while making comments which have since been interpreted as crude will. Knight arrived at Pricey's house sometime after he'd gone to bed. She made herself dinner, watched TV, showered, and then went upstairs. Knight then woke Pricey and the two had sex, and he went back to bed. At 6 a.m. the following morning, the neighbor became concerned when Pricey's car was still in the driveway. And when Pricey didn't show up for work, his employer sent a worker to see what was wrong. Upon showing up at the house, both the neighbor and worker tried knocking on Pricey's bedroom window to wake him. However, they noticed blood on the front of the door of the home and decided to alert authorities. Police arrived at 8 a.m., breaking down the back door to the home. They found Pricey's body with a comatose Knight close by who had taken a large amount of sleeping pills. So, according to blood spatter evidence, he'd woken up, turned on the lights in the room, and then attempted to escape while Katherine chased him through the house with a knife. Pricey had managed to open the front door and get outside, but either stumbled back into the house or was dragged back into it, where he finally died after bleeding out. After this, Knight went into Aberdeen and withdrew $1,000 from Pricey's ATM account. Several hours after Pricey had died, Knight skinned him and hung the skin from a meat hook on the architrave of the door in the lounge.
She definitely knows how to do that stuff.
Mm-hmm. She then decapitated him and took parts of his body to cook.
Okay. Come on.
Knight then served up the meat with baked potatoes, zucchini, pumpkin, cabbage, yellow squash, and gravy, and set the table for 2 dinner seatings. Next to each plate was a note with one of Pricey's children's names on it, and it became horrifyingly apparent to the officers that she was preparing to serve him to his own children. A third dish was prepared. However, it had been thrown out onto the back lawn for unknown reasons. It's speculated that Knight made herself a dish as well, but was unable to finish the meal. This speculation has been supported by her claim that upon waking up, she claimed to have no memory of the night before or the crime.
Of course not.
So, the pot in the kitchen, which contained Pricey's head, was still warm and estimated to be around 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, indicating that the cooking had taken place earlier in the morning. Sometime later, Knight arranged the body with a left arm draped over a 1.25 liter soft bottle drink and the legs crossed. This was claimed in court to be an act of defilement, demonstrating Knight's contempt for Pricey. Additionally, Knight left a handwritten note on top of a photograph of Pricey, blood-stained and covered with small pieces of flesh. The note read, "Time got back to you, Jonathan, for raping my daughter. And you too, Beck, Pricey's daughter, for Ross, for Little John, his son. Now, play with Little John's dick, John Price." So, authorities found the accusations made in this note regarding the rape to be groundless. Pricey's autopsy revealed that he had been stabbed at least 37 times in both the front and back of his body, with many wounds extending into vital organs. Many officers ended up quitting on the spot due to the gruesomeness of this crime scene. Some took stress leave, and others have described it as something that you would only see in a Hollywood horror slasher film. According to Case File, one of the first responding officers entering the scene thought that this was an old Halloween costume hanging on a door, But upon realizing what this was, he quickly attempted to alert his partner, who was walking into the room right behind him, so that they didn't suffer the same shock that he had.
Sure. Sure.
Now, despite intensive questioning, Knight declined having any recollection of what had happened the night after she arrived at the house and had sex with her lover. After recovering from her suicide attempt a week later, on March 6th of 2000, Knight was charged with the murder of Pricey at a special bedside sitting in at the Maitland District Hospital Psychiatric Wing. Knight's initial offer to plead guilty to manslaughter was rejected, and she was arraigned on February 2nd of 2001 and charged for the murder of Pricey. Her trial was initially fixed on July 23rd of 2001, but was moved due to her counselor falling ill, and was refixed for October 15th of 2001. When the trial did commence, Justice Barry O'Keefe offered the 60 attending jury prospects the option of being excused due to the graphic nature of violence and photography of this crime, to which 5 of the jury members accepted. When the witness list was read out to the prospects, several more dropped out. The jury was impaneled, so they're not allowed to go home. They're not allowed to go anywhere, and they're not allowed to talk to anyone. It's a high profile case. Normally, they give you a hotel to stay in until the case is over.
Right.
So, Knight's attorneys then spoke with the judge, who adjourned court to the following day. The next morning, Knight pled guilty to the murder of John Price, and the jury was dismissed. A psychiatric assessment was ordered by the judge to determine if Knight understood the consequences of the guilty plea and was fit to make such a plea. Knight's team was prepared to defend her by claiming amnesia and disassociation. This is a claim supported by most psychiatrists, although they did consider her to be sane. No reason has ever been given regarding Catherine's guilty plea, and she still refuses to accept responsibility for her actions. At her sentencing hearing, her lawyers requested that she avoid hearing some of the facts about the case, but the application was refused. When Dr. Timothy Lyons took the stand and described the skinning and decapitation of Pricey, Knight became hysterical and had to be sedated. On November 8th of 2001, Justice O'Keefe pointed out the nature of Knight's crimes, and her lack of remorse required a severe penalty. She was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole and ordered her papers to be marked with "never to be released," making Knight the first woman in Australian history to receive life in prison. Unfortunately, after Katherine Knight's sentencing, according to Morbid podcast, John Pricey's brother, Bob Price, who had attended all the court hearings and proceedings to support his brother, committed suicide.
Well, unexpected.
Well, I can only imagine seeing your brother in that kind of state, because obviously there's pictures
Right.
coming up in the court proceedings, and
Sure.
just seeing what happened and hearing the story of what
Yeah.
happened, that has to take a huge toll on your mental stability.
Right.
So in June of 2006, Knight did try to appeal her life sentence, claiming that she was too severely punished for the penalty of the killing. And Justices Peter McKellen, Michael Adams, and Megan Latham dismissed the appeal in September, with McKellen writing, "This was an appalling crime, almost beyond contemplation of civilized society." Today, the white-haired lady is known to many other inmates as the Nena, and is seen as a leader by the other girls.
Just what you want. The
Right?
leader.
Knight has found religion, painting, knitting, and acts as a queen bee for sorting out disputes amongst prisoners. However, prison officers make sure that they never take their eyes off of her, and she's not allowed near any knives, and she's not allowed a cellmate in case she kills again.
Not surprised. She's pretty messed up.
Oh no, she's very messed up. And I think when I originally covered this case, we talked a little bit about it. And I think Morbid talks a little bit about it too. But there's discussion of how she may have had borderline personality disorder, which I'm not surprised. It's the acting on like something happens that's basically like spilt milk for a regular person. This is like 10
Mhm.
times worse because you don't have an emotional regulation to say, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, you just go overboard with it. And there's different styles of BPD, and having BPD does not mean that you're going to be some murderous psychopath at all or sociopath. But there are different ranges of BPD, and it was discussed, I believe, in Morbid and possibly even the Case File podcast that she may have been suffering with untreated BPD in the spectrum that would be more pronounced of somebody doing offenses or becoming a repeat offender.
Well, that's kind of understandable. I mean, you think about not really knowing how to gauge the morality of that stuff, and then having this eager feeling of it's okay to learn these skills of slaughtering and killing and
Mm-hmm.
being fascinated with that, and then getting in arguments that put her on edge, and then she just retaliates. It's just wow.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just like simple retaliation. It's full blown, like almost like a fight or flight response. And it's not, she's not going to fly, she's going to fight. And it's like, you don't need to be fighting for this at all.
Right, right.
But that was the story of Katherine Knight and the murder of John Pricey. How you feeling after your first episode?
That was interesting. Um, I hope I was entertaining enough. It's an interesting story.
A little quiet.
Whatever happened to her kids? I kind of missed that as far
So
as.
her children, if I remember correctly, because I didn't put it in there, I believe that they went back to her mother or to her sister.
Okay, well, hopefully they don't turn out as bad as she did.
Yeah, I hope not. I really hope
It's a
not.
sad story, and it affects a lot of
Hmm.
people that have to go on.
Oh yeah, and I
Yeah,
can't imagine
yeah,
growing up and being known as Catherine Knight's daughter or son and just being like,
yeah. That's only if people know who that person is, and it's like
oh yeah,
down in Australia, of course, but
hmm,
back here, nobody would know who you were.
nobody knows who you are. Yeah, but
Yeah,
hopefully they're able to keep their identities under wraps, and that's kind of why I didn't want to bring them up too much, was because as soon as you have a little bit, you can go a long way with the internet finding out who somebody is.
right, right. And people do that. It's like, ooh, who's this? And then they start looking it up, and the next thing you
Hmm.
know, it's like, my God.
Oh yeah. No, finding out like there are names of like serial killers' children's that I've come across. I'm like, they don't deserve to have their names blurted out there until they are
No,
ready to come forward
right,
because they're a
right.
secondary victim. And this case left behind so many secondary victims. It's just one of those things that
Yeah,
it's like you need to let them have their space to heal, grow, mature, and figure out how they want to proceed with this. And they may never want to proceed with this. We're
right.
seeing today that BTK's daughter has written a book. It's coming out. I really hope to read it soon. But with her coming out, there's a lot of backlash in the true crime community and communities of people like that don't see her as a secondary victim, and she is absolutely a secondary victim. And it's heartbreaking that people just mention how, oh well, she's not traumatized because she wasn't an actual victim. She is. She is a secondary victim.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention like going online and seeing your father or mother do some atrocious things and possibly even getting
Mhm.
glimpses of pictures.
Some people can handle it. Some people just don't, and it's normal either way. It's like there's no real understanding how people will handle situations that are thrust upon them.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
as atrocious as this was, it's you never know if she has a better or a sounder upbringing with someone else. The stability might be able to be coped with, but you just don't know. And today, I don't think there's a lot of experts that really understand how that really works.
Like the
So
psychology or
interesting. Yeah, the
yeah.
psychology of how you handle somebody like that. As far as I don't know if in most cases the psychologists out there today like to paint people as I'm sorry you're a victim,
Hmm.
where they never help them recover from that victim position.
There are
It's just
some
kind
really
of
good
like
psychologists out there that do that. However, I will agree with you. There is a majority that like to keep the influx of money coming into their pockets rather than actually curing the problem that's happening,
right.
or at least
Yeah.
giving you the tools to be able to manage yourself. It's kind of like going to the
Mhm.
mechanic to get your car fixed. Like, you don't
Right.
stay constantly at the mechanics. You get the tools or you get the proceedings of how to make this work again.
Hmm.
You stop going for a bit, see how things are going, and if things start getting really bad again, you start going back,
You
or
gotta go back.
you got to
I
go
mean,
back. It's keeping yourself in regulation,
yep.
but not
True
relying on
enough.
it as a constant crutch.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.